So today's another topic is what is demand? What is demand and determinants of demand? Determinants of demand. So what is demand? In short form, demand means the desire and ability of a customer is willing to buy the product is called as demand. Demand is the desire and ability of a customer to willing to buy a product is called as demand. Demand is equals to desire and ability is equals to demand. In depth, demand is the quantity of goods or commodities that a consumer is willing and able to buy the product at a particular period and at a particular time. Is called as demand. Demand is a quantity of goods or commodities that a consumer is willing and able to buy the product at a particular period and at a particular time is called as demand. For example, the demand is keep changing. The demand is keep changing. It is not constant. Demand always keep changing. For example, the umbrellas are demanded in rainy season, and sweaters are demanded, and sweaters have the most demand in winter season. Such the demand is goes on keep changing. It cannot be constant. Here you can see that the demand is the quantity of goods or commodities that a consumer is willing to buy and able to buy the product at a particular period. Means the demand has a demand changing according to seasons. The demand is keep changing according to the seasons and at a particular time, at a particular period, at a particular of time. This is called as demand. Now let's see the determinants of demand. Determinants are those which can influence the demand. Let's see determinants of demand. First, demand function. Demand function. Demand function refers to functional relationship between quantity of commodity and its determinants. Demand function refers to Demand function is refers to the functional relationship between the quantity of commodity and its determinants is called a demand function. Now let's see determinants of demand. Determinants of demand. Q2 equals to functional relationship P of X, price of substitutes, price of complementaries, income, taste test, and government. Q1 is equals to quantity demanded f of x functional relationship prices of commodities. Prices of substitutes. Population, government. Income of a consumer. Taste and preferences. Population. Government. These are the determinants of demand. Quantity demand is equals to functional relationship with the price of a commodity, price of the substitutes, price of the complementaries, income of a consumer, tastes and preference of the consumer, population, and government integration. These are the determinants of demand which influence the demand of a good, the demand of a goods or commodities that people can decide to purchase or buy the product. These are the determinants which influence the demand. Now let's see in detail. First one, price of commodities. Price of the commodities. The price of a commodity is inversely the price of a commodity is inversely related to its demand. The price of a commodity is inversely related to demand because if the prices of the commodities increases, the demand for commodity decreases. If the prices are decreases, the demand for commodity increases. Hence, there exists an inverse relationship between these two, price and demand. So the price of the commodity is inversely related to its price. If the prices are increases, the demand decreases for the commodities. If the price decreases, the demand for commodities increases. Therefore, the graph will be like this. Which is sloping left to right downwards. Demand. Now let's see the price of the substitutes and complementaries. Prices of related goods. Related goods are those goods which is substitutes and complementaries. These goods are called as related goods. Now let's see substitutes. Substitute goods are those goods substitute goods are those goods which can be used in place of another. Those goods are called as substitutes. In case of these goods, if the demand of if the prices of one good increases, the demand for another good also increases. Hence, therefore exists direct relationship between the complete closed substitute goods. Substitute goods are those goods which can be used in place of another. Those goods are called as substitutes. In case of these goods, if the price of one good increases, the demand for another good also increases. Henceforth, there exists direct relationship between these goods. For example, you can take Coke and Pepsi. These goods are the complete substitute goods. Their tastes are not much different. If the prices of Coke increases, the people go for Pepsi. If the price of Pepsi increases, the people go for Coke. Therefore, there will be not much difference in between these goods. Hence, if the price of one good increases, the demand for another good also increases. These goods are called as complete substitute goods. If the prices of these goods are increases, the demand for these goods increases. If the price of Pepsi increases, the demand for these goods also increases. These goods are called as substitute goods. Now let's see complementaries. Complementary goods are those goods which can satisfy the wants or needs grouply, or you can say this, those goods which can grouply satisfy the wants and needs. Complementary goods are those goods which can grouply satisfy the wants and needs of the consumer. For example, you can take car and petrol. With the car and petrol, they grouply can satisfy the consumer or customer wants or needs. In case of these goods, if the prices of one good increases, the another good loses its demand. Because if the price of a car increases, the customers not show much interest to, if the customers are not much so interest to buy the car, then it is obvious that the demand for petrol falls down. In case of these goods, there exists of inverse relationship. These goods are called as complementary goods. Now let's see the third one. It is obvious thus income of a consumer. If the increase in the income of a consumer, it can for sure reflect the demand for certain goods or certain commodities will be possible. Let's see if the consumer income increases or increase in power of the consumer purchasing power of the consumer, if the increase in the purchasing power of the consumer changes if the consumer increases or is increase in purchasing power of the consumer, changes in the habit and spending pattern of the consumer will be for sure affect the demand. For sure affect or changing demand for certain goods. For certain goods. If the income of the consumer or his purchasing power increases, he may change his spending pattern or his habits, or that can be affect the change in demand for certain goods. We can mostly take here three type of goods. One is inferior good, second one is normal good, superior good. These three can be taken in the income of the consumer. Now I will rub this. You can see here. Inferior, normal, superior. Here I can take income of the consumer. If the consumer has a limited income of 10,000, in this 10,000 he has to able to manage all his expenses. If he has only the lesser income, he may go for three times of inferior good that he can take here. Inferior good, first one is rice, second one you can take chapatis, third one biryani. If he has a limited income, he three times go for rice and not for these two goods. If his income is increased up to 15,000, he go for two times rice, one time chapati, biryani. One time rice, two times rice, one time chapati, and it's no superior good. If his income is increased up to 25,000, he may go one for rice, one for chapati and one for biryani. This is how, in case of the consumer income increases, the demand for inferior good is decreases, and the demand for superior and normal good increases. As per the third determinant, as the consumer income is increases, he decreased using inferior goods and he shifted to normal and superior goods. Hence, we can for sure say that the demand for inferior good is decreased according to the increase in income of the consumer, and the demand for the superior and normal good is increased according to the increase in income of the consumer. Let's see the fourth one. This is another determinant of demand, technological changes. The demand for goods also changes due to change in technology, new innovations. There exists in new innovation which leads to decrease in demand for the older goods. That is another determinant of technological changes of determinant of demand. Here you can see that. Old goods are substituted as new. Demand for a commodity is changes according to the change in new innovations and upgradation in technology. Old goods are substituted as a new. In this, the demand loses by old and traditional goods. As the technology is changing, the new innovations and upgradation in technology, the new innovations and goods exist in the market, which leads to decrease in demand for old goods. As the technology is changing, the new innovations and new goods are entering to the market, which leads to decrease in the old and traditional goods, which losing their demand. According to these determinant of demand, let's see the fifth one. weather or climatic changes. This is another determinant, weather or climatic changes. The demand for certain goods, there will be a demand for certain goods according to some seasonal and some period of time. After that time, the demand for those goods cannot sustain for a longer period of time. Those are, for example, sweaters have demand in winter, cool drinks having demand in summer. There will be not much impact on the price of these goods, as the demand for these products or these goods having demand for certain period of time. At this time, if the price of the goods are increases, the demand for goods also increases. There exists direct relationship direct relationship between these type of goods. This is another determinant of demand, and another is the population. Population, taste and preferences. Sixth one is the population. Let's see this, taste and preferences. It is obvious that not all the people can feel the same taste and preferences. The demand the tastes and preferences of a consumer keeps changing. The taste and preference of the consumer is keep changing, and demand also changes for the goods according to the time. This is the sixth determinant. The taste and preferences of the consumer is keep changing. Not all the customers cannot feel the same taste. The taste and preferences are keep changing according to the changing demand of a customer. Last one, population. The size of a population, the size of a population of a country is another important determinant of demand. the chain or increase in size of population affect the demand for certain goods. It is the last determinant of demand. If the size of a population of a country increase, it is another important determinant of demand. If the size of the population of a country increases, it can affect the demand for certain goods for certain period of time. These are the determinants of demand which affecting the demand.